What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. How's my audio look? I just realized I forgot to fill my tank, and I'm out. Uh, any of you nerds got any recommendations on a new tank or tank and mod? Because this one it keeps shutting off on me. It's giving me like 6 years of good service, and the threads on my tank are worn out. Anyone, anyone got any recommendations there for a new douche flute? Just let me know. I'm open to some recommendations. So, anyways, I see people talking about some scotch. I should have grabbed some from my collection downstairs, but just some. I found out if you get the giant shaker cups. What is this? Top at Waffle told me about this. What is this one? The 45 ounce. You can put 3 scoops in here, and the flavor's not too strong. So. Let's go. Let's go with the stream. So I just like to follow up. Do you guys get who got notifications here from YouTube, and who got notifications from our email system? I'm just curious. Let's see. Quit vaping, smoke more cigars. I feel like if I smoked cigars as much as I vape, I'd be dead in a month. Oh, God. I do like cigars. I think I'm going to have one this weekend. I feel like I'm more collecting them than actually enjoying them. Yeah, my personal thing is like, I've got a ton of shaker cups. I love shaker cups. I do have some of Maw's like small ones, and I usually use those for other people, not for myself. I usually go with either the like blender bottle brand one, the name brand ones, not the knockoffs. But I've got the giant one. I've got their other size, which I think is a 32. But, you know, if I got someone here, it's like my dad was over here doing some work. He's like, you got any coffee? I was like, I don't really have much coffee, but I know you like Kool-Aid, and I got some that's got caffeine that tastes like Kool-Aid, and he enjoyed it. So, anyways, yeah, I like my shaker cups. So you can see how clean my desk is. Look at this. It's all clean. There's like not stuff everywhere. I am waiting on the new power supply for the Chiron. If you guys saw the video there, I did put the 450 meanwhile in it, even though I thought it was probably going to be underpowered, and it is. Don't put the 450 watt meanwhile in there, even though it ran like a champ and didn't shut down. Meanwhil's over current protection, according to their data sheets, is anywhere from like 105 to 150%. In my experience, it kicks in right about a 120, 125% range. It did heat the bed. It didn't die, but it allowed me to at least test to figure out what the issue is. Is the bed having a problem? Is the wiring the issue? Is the MOSFET the problem? Nope, it was just the stock power supply. And actually found, when I took the power supply apart, if you guys go look at the after hours stream, found some really weird stuff with the filter caps. Like the AC side ones, the ones that are right after the full bridge rectifier, that were labeled Nippon Chemcon, but taking the wrappers off revealed 2 different capacitors that had physical damage on them, like they had been rustling around or tossed in a bin. And one of them had a knife mark that would be an indication that there was a wrap on there at some point and it was cut off. So now I can't be like, oh God, they're using knockoffs or whatever. I just know that new capacitors aren't beat to hell like those were. So it's a little weird. It just further cements my avoidance of these off-brand, you know, power supplies that come in these printers. That particular brand was Changling. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's the OEM that Creality uses too. I'm going to go check our print farm to see, because every one of our printers here has a meanwheel in it. We switch them out. If they don't have a meanwheel, they get a meanwheel, because I don't want to deal with the potential failure of these off-brand ones, because in my experience, these off-brand ones have a higher chance of failure than the meanwheels. Not saying that meanwheel will never fail. Everything will eventually fail. You know, just how things are, they wear out. But I've had a higher instance of failure with these ones that are these off-brand ones versus meanwheel. So I've never gotten like rewrapped, used, discarded, secondhand, whatever those were. I've never gotten that stuff in meanwheels, and I've opened up quite a few meanwheels. Typically, their AC side filter caps, in my experience, has been Rubicon branded ones, which are a good, legitimate capacitor company. But yeah, it was just really really weird, and it's kind of like, you know, why? How much money are they saving for? How much money are they saving really by using these like random quality caps? So, yeah. Um, Anyways, it was annoying to say the least, because my main thing is this printer I've had for, I don't know, about 2 years. If we look up on you can see when I did the unboxing, I know I've had it for at least a year, if not year and a half. And I have not used it much. So it really sucks when you have a product that hasn't even been used that much, has less than, I'm just going to overestimate. Let's say it's less than 24 hours. It's probably less than 12, but I'm going to say less than 24 hours, and the power supply's already failed in it. So my plan is ordering the SE624. Meanwhile, I did link that in that video. I don't know if we're going to get them in, because there's really not much to be had in terms of resale margins. They're expensive. They're like $100 power supplies at, you know, the costs and the prices that I can get them at. So I did provide links to where you guys can get them. And I have one on the way from Mauser, so I'm going to see how that works. I think we'll be fine, because the bed pulls about 20 to 21 amps. The output on that power supply is about 25. And I'm actually going to get rid of that additional power brick that I hear audible clicking coming from as the heaters and everything are cycling. I know people have had issues with that power brick that powers the motherboard in the Chiron, and luckily getting rid of that is going to be as simple as unbolting that power brick, getting a new set of cables. I'm going to probably use either 12 or 14 gauge wire to go from the power input terminal on the motherboard, and then I'm going to run the bed and the rest of the printer off of that one Meanwhile power supply. So, you know, yeah, it'll be good. Kyle Davis, I'm not sure if the jumper wire worked on the stepper. Yeah, that was one thing I forgot we were messing around with, because there is salmon skin. We grounded out the is RSOC or ROSC. There's a pin on the 4988s that can cause issues if it's not pulled to ground, like salmon skin, which I do see on the Chiron. I haven't had time to test it because the printer doesn't have a heated bed. I mean, I guess I could run it without the heated bed, but there's all these wire terminals that are floating around down there. Hopefully I'll have the power. I'm going to check actually I should check the tracking. Maybe I'll have it this weekend. On an unrelated note, if any of you guys are fans of LGR and you're near Illinois, he's going to be at the vintage, where's the link? I had it up on my page. He's going to be in Illinois, which is not far from us. It's the Vintage Computer Festival Midwest 16. It's going to be at Waterford Banquets in Elmhurst, Illinois. It's about an hour from us. And I might go. I'll see what's going on. I got to find out if Samantha has any plans. But vcfmw.org. So I know we got some nerds in here. If you guys are interested in something like that, and you guys follow LGR, I follow LGR. I love his videos. Yeah, he'll apparently be there, so I'm excited. Hopefully I'll get to meet him and fangirl a little bit. So, anything, the giveaway form is turned on. Apparently my power supply was delivered. Is it sitting on my porch? It is sitting on my porch. Okay. All right. I did not see that. They must have just delivered it. So thanks UPS for not ringing my doorbell. What else? Oh, so there's if you guys have been following, if you guys have been following some of the stuff with the Voron, apparently they're now boycotting Slice Engineering for enforcing their patent. Slice Engineering has a patent on the securing of the heat block to the heatsink with metal tubes, tubular structures, I believe is how the patent's written, or screws, and I think it's a quantity of 2 or 4. I looked at the patent and tried to get as much information. But dear God, patents are wordy, and I think that's intentional. But it got me thinking, if it covers screws going from the heat block to the heatsink, is Creality technically in violation of that utility patent that Slice Engineering holds? Because their stock hot ends have 2 screws that go up through the heat block into the heatsink. So the other thing, now, legally speaking, Slice Engineering does have a legal authority to enforce the patent. They were granted it. Now, whether I personally agree that that patent should be granted, that's another story. But, you know, we got to go by the the laws. The problem is the way they're going about enforcing it. Instead of going after the manufacturers that are making hot ends that are, you know, allegedly infringing on this utility patent, they are going after the resellers. So, and most of them are small people like us. Like, we don't sell the patent, the hot end that they're alleging that is infringing on their patent, which is the Dragon hot end, which is basically like a V6 and a Mosquito had a baby. The heat break is basically the same as the Mosquito, and they have a V6 block, heater block, V6 style heater block connected to a V6 size heatsink. The dimensions are the same, so the idea is it's a drop-in replacement for a V6. To be honest, looks like a nice hot end. I haven't used it, but they're going after them because they not only have the way the heat break's set up, but they have those 4 metal tubes connecting the heat block to the heatsink. And so instead of going after manufacturer, they are shaking down, and this is information I got off the Discord, so if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. I'm going off the information I have, and I'll back up. I like having receipts, so that way people can't be like, oh, Tim's talking out of his ass again. I know I've talked out of my ass in the past, but I've learned from my mistakes, trust me. I am human. So let me pull up the receipts here. And this comes from the Voron Discord server. One of the guys in our Discord server was like, hey, I don't know if you're seeing this going on, because he was like, I don't know if you're gonna sell these or not, but it looks like there's stuff going down with them. I was like, well, we don't have plans to sell them, and we don't have them. I don't even own a Dragon. So anyways, but this guy Doc, he's like one of the head guys in the Voron team. You know, he said, feel free to quote me on this in one of the things, but, you know, I don't have any opinion on Doc. I'm just reporting on stuff here. So, you know, they're talking here, that, you know, Slice's legal team calls up and says, hey, that is in conflict of our recently granted patent. If you sell that, we'll seek enforcement action against you. However, we know you're a small business, so how about we let you sell your remaining inventory, but you pay us a royalty on each. So, yeah, and they also, in response to this, they have completely removed, there was a pull request, I think it was like 437? 438. There's a pull request here that they did, entitled Fuck Off Slice, and they are removing official Slice support from the Voron designs. So, you know, I think Slice has gotten themselves into a bit of an odd situation because 3D printing is heavily open source. I understand why Slice is enforcing their patent, and they do have a right to, you know, because as far as I know, Slice is a smaller company, and, you know, if you're doing all the R&D work, and these other companies that seem to be all from China are coming along and profiting off of your R&D, then I get why they're enforcing it. So, you know, and sometimes it comes off like the users that are wanting these hot ends and the technology in these hot ends that Slice did, you know, test and do R&D on, they want the idea, but they don't want to pay Slice for their hot end. They'd rather have somebody else, aka Slice, do all the work, put all the money in, do all the testing to make sure that the idea actually works. And then a company in China is going to go and just make the physical product without having any skin in the game for R&D. So I see both sides of it. I see Slice's business interests, which they are absolutely right to enforce. You know, I also get the price point, and just from the fact that the 3D printing community is a very open community, it's not very well received to patent your stuff. I feel the way to operate in this field is like what we do, which is just continual innovation of your products and focusing on quality and support. Because the reality is, whether you have a patent on it or not, somebody's going to copy what you're doing if it's a good idea. You know, we've had companies, and I'm not going to mention specifics, but we've had multiple companies knock off improvements we've made to our Easy ABLs. You know, we're not the ones that invented putting a proximity sensor on the printers. We just perfected it, bundled it, got all the software, and made a final solution that's also supported. You know, that's where our Easy ABL is, and we do have a trademark on Easy ABL. So if somebody's selling something as an Easy ABL, please let me know, and we will enforce our trademark, but we're not patenting it. I don't even know if we could. I don't want to because I don't think it's worth it. I think just having a really good quality product that's also backed by a good team to help the customers use it, that's what's going to set you apart. You know, anybody can fashion together a proximity sensor that will do what our stuff does. The difference is how long it's going to last, the accuracy, and then if you need help on it, where do you go? You know, but other companies have copied stuff that we've done that nobody else has done with these type of kits. You know, one of the big things was for ease of installation, we have that switch on our board that flips the end stop wiring around. So you're not having to go back in and repin your connector and flip the wires around. I wanted to make it as easy as possible. And there's another company that copied that as well. And that same company directs their customers to our firmware, which again, it's open source, so I can't do anything about that. But again, it's really irritating because, you know, you guys know we purchase a lot of machines to do R&D on to get the EZBL in there, and then these other companies come along and, oh, look at TH3D added a new printer. Well, now our kit works on those printers too, because now there's firmware out, now there's a mount out for it. You know, that's what really bothers me sometimes, is you get a lot of people that don't see the actual cost of things coming to market and things being put in to this community. You know, luckily one of the other companies that was around for a little bit, they're now defunct, that was, you know, copying some of the stuff we were doing and literally copying our firmware, rebranding it, removing any mention of TH3D or EasyABL and changing it to their information. They're now gone. So yeah, but anyways, I could rant about this for hours. So, but anyways, with the whole slice thing, I'm torn. I'll be honest with you. I'm torn because I get, especially as a small business owner, I get why they have to. I get why they have to protect their business interests. You know, because at the end of the day, they've got to put food on their table. They've spent the money on the patent. They were granted the patent, and if they don't enforce it, or they selectively enforce it, they could then lose the patent. So, you know, like it's the same kind of thing goes with trademarks. Let's say I know somebody's infringing on our EasyABL trademark and I'm like, and I don't do anything. Well, then now there's an established history that, well, I was aware of it, but we didn't enforce it. So then, well, if they're not going to enforce it, then they obviously don't care about it. So let's just, other people can start doing it. So, you know, they have to enforce their patent or they can risk losing it, as far as I know. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but that's what I was told, that's what I've read, that if you have a patent and you don't enforce it, then eventually, once you don't enforce it enough times, and it's on record that you don't enforce it, then it's kind of like, okay, well, guess it's a free-for-all. You know, in general, I think in the 3D printing industry, especially on the consumer side and the more, you know, community side, I don't think it's good to have patents. I don't like patent trolls. I do think there are flaws with the patent system where, like this, it's a utility patent. I think it's too broad. Me personally, I think that's too broad of a patent to be granted. You know, but I also get that Slice did spend time R&Ding to see if this idea worked. So I'm torn. I'm honestly torn. So yeah. But yep. Ben Brady, yeah, you can buy Dragon Hotend, but you have to buy it in parts. I did see that. So while you can't buy the whole Hotend, as far as I know, you can buy the individual pieces to assemble a full Hotend. So I guess that's a way to go around it, because you can't patent selling a metal tube with some screws. Doc, as far as I know, the patent is granted, from what I saw, where I had all this up, and apparently my browser... Apparently Edge was like, oh, screw you, we're crashing. As far as I know, they are... as far as I know, the patent is granted. Hang on, let me see. Yeah, I believe it's patent number... I have it here, but I clicked into it. Where is it? Patent number 108752444, adaptable high-performance extrusion head for fused filament fabrication systems. That's a fucking mouthful. Yeah, as far as I can see, it is granted. It is a very lengthy, wordy patent. Like, very lengthy, wordy. Yeah, but basically this is the this is covering that connecting of the heat block to the heatsink in a matter with, you know, the tubes and or screws. So yeah. Anyways, Armil is Doc is ahead of the PIF section. PIF is printed forward, so if you you can't print parts you're building a Voron, you can request it, and there's like a queue that everything goes into. You know, I think if they have a problem with it, I don't have a problem with them saying, you know, screw Slice. You know, I think Slice should have understood their market better. You know, it's tough. It's tough walking that line between having a viable business and, you know, competing with overseas companies stealing your product ideas. You know, we've had people overseas steal our stuff. Even like when we had our original Easy Mats, there was a company that literally copied our design, including the logo, onto bed mats, and were selling those on AliExpress. And luckily, we were actually able to get them to take it down. So, yeah. Anyways, this is a little long rant. I guess it's not really a rant. It's kind of a news. Maybe I should have a section. Today's news in 3D printing. So let's see. What questions do we have? Because that's what you guys are all here. I know my voice is just so captivating with this new mic that you guys just can't help but be enthralled by me talking about things. So, let's see. How does the audio quality sound with the new microphone? I say it like that because this is a Russian mic. It literally has Cyrillic characters on it. But let's see. Let me see if there's any questions. There was me trying to get the stream. Yeah, YouTube, I was sending data out for like 5 minutes, and usually what happens is when I hit go live and I bring this YouTube studio, like the live control room page up, it will bring, the button will light up and it'll say go live, and it kept lighting up and then going away, and lighting up and going away, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Let's see. Any questions? What questions we have? Start posting questions. I'm scrolling through. See some recommendations here about the vapes. I know I got some vape guys here in the chat. I was thinking about getting a squonk box. What do you guys think? Dan Ams, you build your own coils for your tanks. I used to. Thinking about going back to that because coils have gotten really expensive. I still have all the stuff. All right, let's see. Nemo Griff, do you have anything planned for that blue filament on the desk back there? Oh yeah, this is some Atomic Royal Blue ABS. This is for a customer job out of Chicago. We're printing some enclosures for one of their products and a bracket for some antennas. So that was the color they selected. So there's already a roll. My Ender 5 Plus is printing away. And if Joe remembered, I should have an enclosure for my Daedalus so I can get that online doing prints. I'm gonna ping him because I was like, hey, I want to buy an enclosure for the Daedalus. Please give me one. Well, not give. I'm gonna pay him for it because I'm not a cheap ass. I do want to say him and I sat down because he does have facilities for cutting, tapping, and tapping extrusion, getting acrylic panels cut. We are working on an Ender 6 enclosure, and our goal is to have that out by the end of this month. So if you guys are looking for a top enclosure for your Ender 6, we are working on that, and the target date is end of month. So by the end of this month, we should actually have quite a few new things out. I'm also waiting on... Oh, there's a... Did I get him? There's like a net. Anyways... we are also waiting on parts for the Ender 5 dual Z kit. So I have the plates. I showed those off on stream. I'm waiting on all the bearings and the screws and nuts and bolts and the lead screws and the brass nuts for said lead screws. So hopefully by the end of the month, we'll have Ender 6 enclosure out. We'll have the Ender 5 dual Z kit out and the Easy Board V2. So anyways, let's see. So Randy Hightower, what do you think of the new DLP resin running cubic? I'm hoping it will scale to a larger machine. I'm hoping it will scale to a larger machine cheaper than LCD. DLP resin, Anycubic. So in general, I do like Anycubic stuff. Aside from the Chiron. The Chiron's kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. To be completely honest, I had a much higher view of them until I started dealing with the Chiron and having issues with the PSU. But in general, their FDM machines have seemed to be pretty good. I know the latest craze in resin printers is like their what's the word, the mono screen. Like it's basically, instead of a full color LCD, it's like a mono color LCD, and it's supposed to give better results. I think the older photons I have give really good print results. I'm curious to see how good the other ones are, but I don't have a justification to buy them. I don't really do too much resin printing. I do see they have a new Wash and Cure 2.0, which basically looks like the same as the 1.0, just with a different LED array. I've been very happy with the Wash and Cure stations. I don't do much resin printing, but when I do, it's made my life a lot easier. I don't see their DLP resin. I don't know if Matt from Akuma Mods in the chat. He is a resin guru, and I feel like if he's in the chat watching, are you watching, Matt? He pops in most of the time. He probably would have an opinion on that. So, Hybotics, you got your package of parts for Ender 3 V2. Didn't you? I feel like you messaged our support, and I replied to your ticket last night. I can't remember, because I think your stuff got delivered, but you didn't get it. Did a neighbor have it? Unless I'm thinking of someone else, and I'm completely off my rocker here. Hang on, I gotta check this. Oh god, hang on. Oh, Joe must have heard me talking about the... Yay! Oh my god, look at this. Look at this. Oh, are you gonna install it for me too? Or is that extra? Oh, look at this. Oh, it's so beautiful. This is like what we want to do for the Under 6, right? Yeah.
Same thing.
So this is Mr. Joe. He's a friend of mine. He also runs Project R3D. He also helps me out with random stuff. If you pay him enough, he'll do anything. But yeah, so think about something like this for the Under 6. So what do you guys think? I like this. So
that's 6 inches.
This is 6 inches?
So you're only looking at about that height.
Yeah, so we were thinking about doing about the same height here for the Under 6. So, but yeah, this is solid.
That's why I don't think we need anything much more.
Yeah, I like the extrusion.
We ship this fully assembled and have no issues with it.
Cool.
So.
Well, I will. My Daedalus is going to become an ABS bitch. Ooh, do you have these printed?
SLS.
These are SLS. Look at Mr. Fancy Pants over here.
Because we wanted the proper tension, so you don't have to have like a
look at
or anything.
Oh, so this is to hinge the whole.
No, this is the door.
Oh, for the door. I was like, this whole thing hinges. Okay, for the door.
Is 1/4 inch.
Oh, I like this handle. This is printed too? Yep. That's adorable.
It is adorable.
Ah, I like this. Awesome. I appreciate you getting this, because I need to burn up all that atomic for my customer.
Yeah, I'll do it.
I see the other ones there.
Yeah.
So, the screws.
Yeah.
Look at that, personal delivery right to my office. Where'd you set what at?
The screws.
I don't know.
Might be in the shop.
Anyways, okay, yeah, Hybotics, yes, you are the one who emailed. Yes, you found it. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I emailed you, 19 hours ago. What was that, at like 9:55? I was at my desk. I was like, I'll reply to him. I recognize the name. I'm glad you found it. So, because UPS is usually pretty good about delivering stuff. Let's see. I'm going to go see what you guys are chattering about while we had here. Welcome to the Enclosed Daedalus Club. I've been asking him, because he comes here a couple times a week to help me out with stuff in the shop, like organization, and him and I have been working on projects together. The Under 6 enclosure top thing is one of those. So, yeah, I told him yesterday, I was like, listen, I really need another ABS machine in here, because I'm trying to run the custom jobs off on my machines in here instead of bothering the print farm operations. So yeah, so now I'll have 3 ABS machines, the Daedalus, my Ender 5 Plus, and then my my custom built machine, which is an AM8. So, all right, let's go back. Let's go back here. Scrolling back up. We're talking about the mall. You guys got YouTube notifications, just email. I'm pretty sure email, I mean, unless MailerLite, which is what we use for our email platform, breaks, you should get the emails. You didn't bring the screws in, did you? Yay! I'm going to put this on tonight.
This is the spacer for the bottom of the door, and that's how you center it. You put that on, and that centers on the bottom screw in the front.
Oh,
and
okay.
You set the door on it.
Cool. All right, cool.
All right.
Awesome.
All right,
Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
Make sure to send me a bill.
Yep.
But, all right, let's see. We're scrolling through. Blue filament, I answered that. DLP resin, I'm not sure. Oh my God, dogs. My buddy Nick just came in to return my chainsaw, and Remote's yelling at him. Hey! I'm sorry, guys. This stream is all over the place. All right, let's see. Okay, all is clear. The intruder is gone. Remo scared him away. Hey! Shh. Dear God. Let's see. Talking about the hot ends. Hybotic says manufacturers should be paying royalty for the ones they make, not the resellers. Resellers have no control over what is in a hot end. Yeah, I think that would be a better way to do it. Maybe Fadus, who makes that hot end, should work out an agreement with Slice. You know, because like I said, I haven't used it, but I know many people that have them, and they said they work well. I haven't touched them because even like 6 or 7 months ago, there was questionability about the utility patent being an issue. So, and we're in the U.S. I don't want to get sued over a freaking hot end. CL, I order Easy Pro. Any hints or tricks to get it installed once I receive it? Basically, read through the installation guide that's on our site, and I believe it's easyablguide.th3dstudio.com will take you right to the installation guide. Read that. Our site does have an option, so you can print it out if you prefer to have a hard copy. And there is also a video if you're more of a visual learner. I do want to mention that just because we have the video, that didn't tag you. Hopefully that works. So anyways, yeah, read through the guide. The most important part is make sure you leave, you know, the strain relief on the wire. Make sure it's mounted to the correct height and calibrated. You know, basically just follow through the guide. The guide looks long, but it's because I want to make sure everything is covered in it, so there's no question about, well, do I do this or do I do that? Leave little up to assumption. So that way it's not like, oh, well, you didn't say this. So I try to be very thorough with our stuff to cover all the spots. And there's also the video. So, and the video is broken up into multiple sections. So RAM design... confirm that meanwhile you'll be using the SE600-24. That's the one I ordered. So if you want to wait, it is literally sitting on my front porch. Samantha's out with one of her girlfriends tonight. So maybe after this, I'll fire another stream up and work on the Chiron. I'll ping her and see where she's at because I don't know if she wants to spend time tonight or not. I work a lot, so I'm not trying to be like the whipped husband, but she does put up with me working a ton. So, anyways, yeah, gotta have some give and take. I am married. Let's see. But yeah, so yeah, just read the guide, watch the video, pop the video on while you're, doing stuff on your computer and listen to it. Stop at certain sections if it piques your interest. But if you get stuck, don't assume, reach out to our support. So our support is available 9 to 5, Monday through Friday Central Time. We also have our Discord server and our Facebook group if you want to get assistance outside of those hours from the community. But, we do include support on our product. So, where were we at? We were asking, CL was the last one. I'm trying to find where it's at. I'm kind of all over the place today. I apologize. Okay. All right. So... let's see. Do 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 do. Benny Brady. Slice isn't in the hobbyist market. They're more concerned with the industrial market. Yeah, they have both, and I believe they said their Copperhead, which is their cheaper hot end, is open source to a point. I think it's released under Creative Commons license, so they do have both. I just, yeah, if you're gonna get into this market, patents are not a good thing. I get why some people do them, but know your market. Sit and Fly says, do you have an opinion on the use of the ferrules for high current wires on Ender 3 V2? I think ferrules are the best way to terminate your wires. I do have many printers here that just have bare wire. So strip, twist, put into the terminal. Haven't had, knock on wood, haven't had any terminals melting from bare wires. Have had terminals melted from tinned wires, regardless of whether it's, you know, our easy board or, you know, a Creality board. If you have tinned wires, they're going to damage the screw terminal at some point. You know, ferrules are nice. I typically will use ferrules in machines that I know I'm going to be in there messing with. So I specifically have, and it's, you can't see it here, but I specifically have a machine that I solely use for testing products on. So like our EasyBoard V2 is in that machine. That's what I use to run a ton of test prints off on. And I have ferrules on there because when I'm switching the boards in and out, I don't want to be dealing with the bare wires, so I put ferrules on that. The majority of my printers, you guys were coming in and, you know, poke around on my printers, most of them do not have ferrules on there. Now, I think ferrules just look a lot cleaner, and I do think they are the best way of terminating wires. So, yeah, ferrules are never a, well, I shouldn't say never. Ferrules are not a bad idea, typically. I don't know if there's any cases where you wouldn't want to use ferrules, but if you're putting wire into a terminal, as far as I know, and my opinion is that ferrules are the best. The second best way is bare wires. The worst way is tinned wires. So, and the sad part is China keeps tinning their wires on their printers. I think there was like one printer? There's one printer I opened up that didn't have tinned wires. I think it was it the Ziltech one? We'll see who actually watches the channel. But I think the Ziltech one had little like brass ferrule, like not a full ferrule, but like a little sleeve crimped onto the wire, which is just as good as the ferrule, just doesn't look as fancy. So, but infinitely better than tinned wires. Tinned wires do legitimately cause fires. So, you know, as 3D Jimmy said, you know, tinned wires are a terminal issue. I love that. I miss that guy. He was such a good guy. I'm gonna stop talking about him. I don't want to get worked up. Anyways, let's see. I woke up Sleeping Beauty on the back of the couch. 3D print my own Squonk Box mod. I ain't got time for that. There's certain things I'll print. There's certain things I'll pay somebody to give me a finished product on. Peter Eckenkrantz says, hi, there's very few resources for us with the CRX. Got any tips? What are you trying to do with your CRX? The CRX is a decent machine. As far as I can remember, I got rid of our CRX because I just didn't use it and I couldn't justify having that machine sitting around. I did like it for dual color, which I just don't do. It was really good. I basically played around with it, printed some trinkets, and I was like, I don't really use it. It's going to waste, so I sold it to make room for other printers. But I thought it was a good machine. My main complaint, like many other machines, is the LCD that it comes with. I swapped it out for an LCD kit, put on our ABL flex plate. I don't even think I put tough tube on it. Don't think I had it that long. But basically my main complaint was the screen. I hate the touch screen just because of the limitations with it. And I know one of the issues with those machines is the solid state relay, which is a DC to DC solid state relay, not an AC one. They have a record of burning up, so that's one thing to keep an eye on with that machine. And as with all the Creality machines, the tinned wires. So, let's see. I don't see any other. All right, move the next one. We'll circle back. So, let's see. Steve Cook, how is my Ender 5 Plus enclosed? So I ponied up the money. It was not cheap, but I don't regret doing it for the 3D Upfitters enclosure. I was very happy with it. well, I am very happy with it. I'll post a link in there. I'm not affiliated with them, but they seem to be good guys. Their stuff worked, so you're not going to hear any complaints from me. But I think it was like $350 when I bought it. You got to remember it's a big freaking printer, and the acrylic is not cheap. So I think it was worth the money. I've been doing ABS on it with no issue. The Ender 5 Plus bed, at least on mine, does hit 100C. It takes a little while. It takes about 9 to 10 minutes. But if I know I'm going to use a printer, I turn it on, I preheat it, and then by the time I'm done slicing and checking everything, I'm ready to go. But yeah, I would highly recommend their enclosures. They work well. And it took me about an hour and a half to put it together. So much less time than trying to fashion something together myself. So, you know, there's that. Let's see. Where's the next question? Am I filtering the ABS machines? The smell must be strong. So I am actually not. I do have a whole room filter that runs in my office. We also have 2 of them that run in our print farm. The filter's size for 2,000 square feet, this is about 260, so I am way larger on the filter size than I need to be. Occasionally I'll catch a whiff of the ABS fumes, but no, it's not bad. Some people are sensitive to it. It doesn't seem to bother me at all. So, but you know, I leave the machines closed, and occasionally when you open it at the end of the print, you'll smell something. But you know, if you are sensitive to fumes, you could get something like the BOFA system, BOFA. I think Printed Solid sells them, and it's a recirculating setup. But you're going to spend about $800 to $900 on that. So it's not cheap. Yeah, I've been printing ABS for a while with no issues. So, Marcus says, what are your thoughts about fumes when it comes to 3D printing? I got hit with a lung disease. That sucks. And now thinking about building enclosures for all your printers. I don't know enough. I'm not a scientist. I have seen articles popping up about, you know, ultra fine particles and all this stuff. I have always had air filters in my rooms just because I do get allergies. And we have them in our house. I have them in my office. We have them in our print farm, in the shop too. Our print farm's about 500 square feet, and we have 2,000 square foot filters that claim to go down to 0.1 microns of filtration, which as far as I know, that's what you need to be at to capture those. You know, if you walk into our print farm, the only thing you'll usually smell sometimes is PLA. You rarely ever smell the ABS, and we have 12 machines that are all enclosed. And, you know, even if they're all going, you don't really pick up the ABS. You really mostly smell that sweet smell that PLA gives off. You know, I don't think it's going to hurt anything to enclose your printers. The only thing to keep in mind is if you do enclose your printers and you're printing PLA, you have to be mindful of the temperature, because if you get above like 45, 50 C, you're going to get heat creep on your heat break. So like my machines that are enclosed, because I do have the luxury of having multiple machines, all they do is ABS. If they're enclosed, all they do is ABS. I don't run PLA on them. I don't run PETG on them. They're ABS printers. You know, and I feel like I get a lot better success with my ABS prints because I'm not switching between filaments. You know, there might be some PLA left in there. If I ran PLA and I switched to ABS, or, you know, PETG, go to PETG to ABS, ABS to PETG, ABS to PLA, you get all these different materials in the hot ends. I feel like I do get more consistent results dedicating, you know, these printers. All they print is ABS. I don't ever have to worry about, you know, cross-contamination of filaments. You know, don't know how big of a deal it is, but I feel like we have had very consistent results having printers set up for dedicated material types. So if you do have that luxury, I understand not everybody has the money or even the space to have multiple printers. I do think it is a good idea to have separate machines for different material types, just so you don't ever have to worry about weird issues because it has whatever remnants of the last material in the hot end. So, but if you do go between material types, I usually flush at least 100 millimeters of filament out if I'm switching from, you know, PETG to PLA, because I do use PETG and PLA on the same machines, and I'll make sure to heat the hot end to like 240 to flush everything out. Because here's the other thing you got to remember too: if you're going from a material that melts at 200 like PLA to PETG, not really an issue because the melting point of the PLA is lower than the PET G. Now, if you go from PET G, that you're printing at like 235, 240, and you go down to PLA that's like, 190, 200, your temperature might not be hot enough to actually purge. What are you doing? To actually purge out that previous material, and it could lead to clogging, because if it's not hot enough to melt it and pass through the nozzle, then you could get a clog. So keep that in mind. All right, let's see. Sword Gamer says, I've got an Ender 3 V2 with BL Touch. Last time I calibrated, it was on a Z offset of negative 3.09. The filament wasn't sticking, and the lines weren't thin. I lowered it by 0.1, and by negative 0.01, and it scraped. Sounds like you might. I would rule out an extrusion, because if the filament wasn't sticking and the lines weren't thin, that might be an extrusion issue. And the easiest way to rule that out is raise your Z up, heat the hot end, and tell it to extrude plastic. See if the plastic goes straight down out of the nozzle. If it's like curling up or it's kind of sputtering, then you probably have a clog. Because here's the thing: if you were too high on your offset, your lines would be thin because it's not squishing into the bed. So you have the opposite. You said it's not sticking and the lines were not thin. So that tells me that there's something else going on. I would probably rule out your sensor. If you want to test your sensor, run the M48 test. If you enter 3V2, you probably don't have it on your screen. You'd have to run it from G-code. But run the M48 test and see what your probe is getting in terms of accuracy. If it's getting 0.01 or lower, your probe is working. It's feeding data back to the printer correctly. But without seeing the resulting one, just given the information that you posted here, it sounds like you might have a hot end issue and not necessarily something with your bed leveling. So let's see. What's the next one? Man, we're almost at 6 o'clock. Damn. Yeah, I don't think filtering your air in your printer enclosure is ever a bad idea. It's more of a personal decision. So, Dan Adams, yeah, send me a message on Discord. I believe you're on Discord. If not, you should be on Discord. Let's see. You guys are very quiet. There's not much chat. Let's see. John is asking, is there a kit for the Ender 5 Plus? What kit are you referring to? Let's see. DC Sublime, I don't know what you mean. I know I can reuse boards, but what about the EX? I'm assuming you mean Easy Neo. What about the Easy Neo on the Daedalus? I'm assuming you mean Duet. That is, I don't know. Were you having a stroke when you were typing that? I did actually hook Joe up with some of the Easy Neos. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I should probably put some on mine. As far as I know, Duet supports NeoPixels, so I'll have to look at their configuration guide. But he told me that he got it working on his Daedalus, so might have to do that while I'm putting the enclosure on. Let's see. Hybotics, would enclosing a printer be enough to keep fumes from me? It might be if it's sealed up pretty well. Would a dual Z kit be better if it included a stepper motor? Not really. It really is personal preference. I think having a belted Z, if you're going from a single Z to a dual Z, like our Ender 3 dual Z kit, that also works with like the Aquila and the CR20 and a few other models. There is a benefit of having a belted system because it does keep the gantry from sagging. The ideal system, if you can't do a belted system where it links the two, would be to have two Z motors, but also a belt at the top linking those two, so your gantry doesn't ever go like this. So the benefit of having a belt across the top is it'll prevent your gantry from going like this, which is a really big pain in the ass if you're dealing with the printer, because your gantry like sags, especially on the Ender 3, because that right side's unsupported. it can go like this, and then it screws with your ABL results. So he was asking, does enclosing a printer cause issues with heat for the motherboard? It really depends. Now, we have a very good set of data, if you want to call it. I mean, it's not super scientific, but we have 12 Ender 3 printers. They're 3s and 3 Pros. They all have mean wells on them, so whether they're 3 or 3 Pro, we've changed them out for the mean wells. All of them except for one at this point has the older 8-bit boards, and the boards are in the enclosures. I said, you know what? The boards are cheap enough. Let's see how they do in the enclosures, because the enclosures get up to about 50 to 55 C. Let's put the power supply outside of the enclosure, because that's easy to extend those wires on. And let's see how the boards do. So now, after over 2 years of use in the ABS enclosure, we're talking heavy use, you know, printing close to 24 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week. We've only had one board out of 12 fail. So, you know, 50 to 55 C isn't that hot for a electronics board. We do still have the fans in the control boxes, circulating air into there. In general, though, moving your electronics to the outside of the printer enclosure is never a bad idea. The thing is, it does take a lot of time to then extend all those wires to reach the outside of the thing. Now, my Ender 5 Plus, the 3D Upfitters enclosure, does have a little vent guide that goes to the bottom of the control box where the power supply draws air in to pull it into there. So I haven't had any issues with that. My Ender 5 Plus has our Easy board in it. It has the 450 watt meanwhile power supply. I've been running it with the enclosure for about a year now. Knock on wood, haven't had any issues with it. The other stuff we replaced on that because of failures, well, when the power supply was having issues, and making burning smells, so that's why I got replaced. And the MOSFET for the bed stopped working, so it has our MOSFET in there as well. But after I did the initial upgrades, and I really haven't messed with that machine at all, I've just been using it. So, but in general, moving electronics outside of an enclosure, if you have the time and the means to do it, is not a bad idea. You know, at least for like the Ender 3s, I think having them running for 2 years with, you know, only one failure out of 12 is, you know, a good indication that it's probably not that big of a deal to put it in there. But again, we do have the power supply outside of the enclosure. So, let's see here. Let's see. My chat jumped. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get back to where I was. Errol is asking when the MKS SGNL V2 board bundle will be back in stock. Unless MKS starts making those boards again, likely never. The processors that they use on those, the LPC 1769s, which is what we use on our EasyBoard V1, have been damn near impossible to get during the silicon shortage. I have seen on sites like DigiKey and Mouser, the 1769 has been marked as end of life, so I don't know if we will ever see those boards again back on the market. So don't hold your breath on those. You know, I haven't had any of my suppliers that can get me MKS boards tell me that they can get the SGNL V2 again, which is sad because I think that was a really good board. I have one sitting here. I find a project for it. That was one I used for the that was one I did used for the product photos, but I want to put it in a machine. I do have 2 machines with SGNLs. The enclosed one here has a V2 in it, and Barney, which is up there behind these boxes of filaments, that's got a V1, and they've been reliable. Lightspeed. Oh, Mr. Lightspeed's watching. What is ABL fade in Marlin? What does that mean? So ABL fade means it's going to fade the compensation over a set millimeters. So auto bed leveling, you know, it's going to be moving your nozzle to account for the bed mesh. What it does is it's ever so slightly varies the layer height and the extrusion amount to fade that compensation till it's off. So that's what it does. I have had weird results sometimes. I haven't had it in a while, but other people in Discord have posted pictures where the fade will get really weird and it'll like stretch the model out. So, and I've had issues on and off with ABL fade in Marlin for years now, and it's like a weird thing to try to track down because some people have the issue, some people don't. I'm torn on it because I do use it on some of my machines. In general, I just recommend that you turn it off if you have problems with it. So, Let's see here. Do, 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 do. Paranormal ITC says, will the BL Touch work with the LCD firmware for the Ender 6? I'm not sure. I think Creality has an update for it, but I don't use the BL Touch, and our Ender 6 has our LCD conversion. I can tell you right now, our firmware does have BL Touch settings if you do convert over to our LCD conversion. So, as far as Creality stuff, I haven't looked into it. Their firmware on the LCD screen is just very limited, and I'm not a fan of it. So that's why we come up with those kits to get rid of them. Mr. 509 Drones here. Let's see. Rob H says, Creality replacing my mainboard. Can't do any firmware upgrades, but can print. So weird. Maybe your board didn't get a bootloader on it? I don't know if they flash their boards over the SD for the firmware. I mean, like, I can speak from our experience, like when we're, doing our boards here. We have the manufacturer who physically makes the boards, they flash the bootloader, and they're instructed to flash the firmware over the SD so we know the bootloader is working. I don't know if Creality is flashing theirs like that, or if they're doing it all in one shot where they flash the bootloader and the firmware over a programmer. But sounds like your board might not have a bootloader if you can't do any firmware upgrades. So, Mike V, can you run two Easy Neos together? Officially, it's not documented or supported, but I can tell you in general with NeoPixels, you can wire them in parallel. So meaning if you have two strips, you got the 3 wires, so you got your power, so your positive, negative for the 5 volt, and you got your signal wires. If you wire those 2 signal wires together and put them in one I/O pin, they will be controlled in parallel. So if you have 2 strips, you tell the first LED to turn on. The first LED on both strips will turn on at the same time, and subsequently for the following ones. And I've done that on different IoT projects where I've had NeoPixel strips and I've wired them in parallel because I just want more lighting. I don't care about having, Pixel 1 over here and Pixel 1 over there being individually controlled. I just want them to light up. You could do that. The only thing to watch out for is your current draw, because our Easy Neo strips, they can pull up to 1 amp max, and max meaning white color, so all 3 LEDs, the red, green, and blue in each module is on full brightness. Typical power draw is about 0.6 to 0.7 amps at 5 volts, which is what I've measured. We advertise 1 amp just to have extra headroom, just in case, in case there's different yields with the pixels and whatnot. So, basically, if you made yourself a little 3-pin JST splitter cable, you could plug 2 into 1 header, but just be mindful of your amp draw. If you're running on a board that doesn't have the capability to run, 2 amps output on 5 volt, you could just run just the signal to the board and then inject your own 5 volt power to power the other strips. So, and funny you mentioned that, because I was thinking about if I put them in the Daedalus, I might do just that, wire 2 in parallel and have 1 on each side of the Daedalus to light the printer up. So, once I get some free time, that's always a funny one. I do want to put the Easy Neos on all my machines in here. It's just a matter of time. So, is fade normal at 10? Lightspeed's asking. That's usually what I use. Scott from Marlin said he uses 2. So, play with it and see. There's no, official, this was the best value. I would be more inclined to follow Scott's guidance of 2 instead of 10. But I've done tests with both, and the results come out the same. So, your mileage may vary. I'm sure somebody else is going to be like, well, you said you use 10. I use 3. Play with it. All right. We're actually over on time. So let me wrap this up. John Rafer. Oh, he's asking about the enclosure for the 5 Plus. No, the enclosure I have for the 5 Plus, I posted a link. I'm using the 3D upfitters. This will not fit. This will not work on the 5 Plus. The 5 Plus is not enclosed on the bottom. The Daedalus is enclosed on all sides except the front and the top. So I have the front and the top here. So the LCD sits right here. So, anyways, let's see. I'm trying to see here. Mike V, I'm using the EasyBoard Lite V1X with the Easy Neos. If you're using our little adapter board, that should be able to handle up to 3 strips in parallel with no issue because that is a 3 amp regulator. I think we have it fused at 2.5. Griffin, are you in chat? I want to say he has it fused at 2.5. But I think in general you could run up to 3 in parallel and be fine. Like I said, that 1 amp advertised draw is allowing for some headroom. You could definitely get away with 2. So does that, Mike, does that make sense what I'm talking about? Like wiring them in parallel, you got the 3 wires coming from the strips, your positive, your signal, and your ground, and just put them together into one thing. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, and the firmware doesn't have to be told that you have 2 strips because it's just going to say Pixel 1 turn on, and both Pixel 1s on both strips will turn on at the same time. So, yeah, they're pretty neat like that. I love NeoPixels. I don't know if you guys saw the last stream, but I showed a video of my my projector screen downstairs. That's running. It's not. They're different NeoPixels, but they're still technically NeoPixels. They use the same protocol. But all those LEDs around my projector screen that I did with the Ambilight setup, those are all NeoPixels. It's the same protocol that the Easy Neo strips work with. So, I love it. Individually addressable LEDs are freaking awesome. So, all right, let's see if there's any other questions here. If you guys are new to the channel, if I throw that line in there, that's my cutoff, and I read up from there. Kyle Fegley said, how hard is it to change a cooling fan on a Meanwhile power supply? It's not very hard. Take the lid off, snip the wires, get one that's the same size and voltage as the other one, and put it in. You got to check. Most Meanwhile power supplies, I believe, have 12-volt fans in them. You know, check. I tell everybody because, you know, I'll say, oh, if I say, oh, they all have 12 volt, there might be one model out there that has 24. You know, my recommendation is open it up, look at the label, see if it's 12 or 24. Most of their fans are like, I think, Kyle, you have a CR10S5, so you probably have a 350 watt. Meanwhile, those are 60 millimeters. We carry both 12 and 24 volt fans that will fit the LRS 350. So, which is probably what you have if you have an S5. But yeah, Mike V, am I planning flexible NeoPixels? Not like from our stuff. I am toying with the idea of getting some in the same type that I use for my project downstairs because I do want us to branch out more into some DIY stuff like ESP32 boards, 8266 boards. I'm going to be sending out a survey in the next couple of days asking what kind of DIY stuff people want. So if you're on our email list, I will be sending out a survey asking what kind of stuff would you like to see us stocking so you can get that kind of stuff from us. Because I've already talked to 3 of our 5 suppliers that are over in China, and they can get me tons of stuff. So there's one supplier in specific I want to go through because she always seems to get me really good quality products. So anyways, just have more stuff in my shop that I'll raid. Just wake up like, I'm gonna automate this. Let me go shopping in my own warehouse. All right. DC's mine. What if you're doing a live stream at Easy Now on the Daedalus or a video? Hopefully my stroke is over. I could stream that. You'll watch me fumble because I'm not a duet expert, but I'm pretty sure I could figure it out. If you guys would be interested, I could do it. And then I can actually make some documentation for the Easy Neos for a Duet board. But as far as I know, Duet supports Easy Neos. Or not Easy Neos. NeoPixels in general, which is what our Easy Neo strips are compatible with. So, the Anycubic Chiron installation, is that the foil back foam type? Yeah, that's the one we have. I ordered that from the supplier that actually makes it. I found their distributor in Chicago, so hopefully I should have that in a couple days. Yeah, I don't know why we didn't carry that already, because I was always having to scramble to find this. There's so many different types of foil back insulation, and some of them don't withstand high temps, and some of them do. And I have a hard time finding the stuff that works up to like 120C. So the only reason I was able to insulate my Chiron bed as quickly as I did is because I literally have like 4 rolls of it. I just keep it on hand for when I do mainly big printer bed builds, because insulating them on the bigger beds is very helpful. So, and I do want to do a video showing, like, taking, like, specifically I'll use my test machine with the thermal camera take a video showing heating it up, time it, what the heat up time is, and show the heat loss of the stock setup with no insulation, and then the same thing with the insulation of the bed. I think that'd be a really good comparison to give people an idea of the benefit of insulating your printer bed. I do think it saves power. I want to test that. And I do think it increases or decreases the heat up time, because instead of the heat getting dumped out of the bottom of the bed, it's being trapped there. You can feel if you have a bed that's insulated versus not. If you put your hand underneath a bed, you can feel the heat radiating off of it, versus when you have it wrapped with the foil-backed insulation, you don't feel much heat coming off at all, meaning it's staying inside the bed and not getting dumped into the room. So I would assume that it's going to save a little bit, not a drastic amount, but I assume it's going to be more power efficient because it's keeping the heat in the bed where it's supposed to be. And you're just going to lose it out of the top of the build plate instead of out of the top and the bottom. But we're going to test it. I got thermal cameras and all that stuff. So it'd be fun to test. So Hermils, want to fly to Hawaii and set me up some LED strips? Nah. Joe already streamed it. I actually don't know what Joe's I don't know what Joe's YouTube channel is. I should probably look it up. I don't watch, I'm sure you guys will be shocked, I don't watch too many other 3D printing channels. I mostly watch like retro computer hardware and like software and other stuff. I do enough 3D printing stuff during the day. I'm just kind of, at the end of the day, I just want to like disconnect for a bit. So I do watch the Melt Zone podcast. I don't know if you guys watch that. That's with Stefan from CNC Kitchen and Tom Salater. I'm probably saying his name wrong. I'm sorry, man. They have a good podcast. I do watch the Melt Zone podcast during the workday, just to kind of keep up on stuff. And they actually had a video talking about the whole slice engineering patent thing. They were kind of at the same point where I am. They're like, yeah, I get why they're enforcing it, but know your market type of thing. So anyways, you guys know what time it is. They know what time it is. I'm surprised Mr. Chonk behind me has not gotten up yet. Oh, there they are. You guys are so predictable. Okay, all right. Who's gonna sit first? Sit. Oh, that's a good sit, Paw. Good boy. Clara, sit. Shake. Touch. Speak. Come on. Yeah, good girl. All right, there you go. Do not take her food, you fatty. Anyways. All right. Anyways, Dominic, I will answer your question just because I love you for being a channel member. Is it better to forego bed insulation on an enclosed printer? I think if you are trying to get the temperature up in the enclosure, yes. I do not have the beds insulated on our Ender 3s that are enclosed because the heat is going into the enclosure. So, but on one that's not enclosed, I definitely think insulation is a good idea. And I will get scientific about it and get my little thermal camera out. And all that. One quick update. I don't know if you guys saw, we did post an update on the EasyBoard V2s. All the testing is passed. I'm very happy with where they're at. We had no issues with the retail revision of the board, so we are moving them into production. If you guys are somebody that's interested in getting an EasyBoard 2, meaning you are actually going to buy one when we get them. I don't like doing pre-orders. We are toying around with the idea of doing pre-orders for the V2 board just to gauge interest, because right now, with how slow things have been with sales, I don't want to be dumping a ton of money into boards if they're going to sit. So we do need to have some sort of interest gauging on who's actually going to pony up the money and purchase one. That will depend on how many we actually get run. So we have enough parts to make up to 500 boards right now. And then after that, we're going to be scrounging for processors. So if you guys are interested in getting an EasyBoard V2, please leave a comment on the news posting on our website, just so I can see what the interest is, because it really determines are we going to run 100 boards, we're going to run 200, or we're going to go for broke and run 500. We got to be very careful with where we're allocating our funds, just because things have been very slow. With sales, we've seen about a 40 to 50% decrease from the beginning of the year to now. So I got to be very careful about where we're allocating our resources, because I don't want to not be able to pay people because we put all our money into product. So, got to play this song and dance, and I don't like taking out loans. So, this is the news post. If you guys want to leave a comment on there, I'll probably send a survey out as well. I'll probably do a survey email. So, like, hey, what kind of DIY stuff do you guys want to see? And who's actually going to be interested in the EasyBoard V2, meaning you're going to purchase it when it comes out. The price is set at $129.99, even though our cost did go up considerably on them. I'm not going to push it up any higher than that, even though the thing that sucks is these boards were supposed to end up being cheaper than the V1. Like, we did a lot of optimization with parts. We did a STM32 processor instead of NXP, which should have been cheaper than the XP, but because of all this silicon crap, our cost is now more than the V1. When we originally started designing the V2, we were going to be able to sell these at about $100. So, yeah, the market's screwed up right now. So, anyways, appreciate everybody stop by. Hope you guys learned something. And I'm not going to be like, yes, we're doing a stream this weekend, but I will post an update if we do a stream. So, do. Anyways, hope you guys all have a good weekend. And as always, happy printing.